Okay, so it's time for us to kind of dive into X-Men Unlimited issue number 10. Now, this issue for me is very special. And the reason why, because, well, we're getting into the first meeting between Dark Beast and Beast. Hank McCoy meets Hank McCoy. And honestly, the ending of this book, I was kind of surprised by this. I didn't think they'll end the book that way, but hey, you know what? It makes it more interesting for later stories down the road. Now, the opening pages of this storyline I kind of like because it gives us a good example of the younger days of Hank McCoy, our Hank McCoy, from the main Marvel universe. Now, when it came to Hank, we already know the dude loves science. The dude loves trying to figure out different things that have been put in front of him. And so we see his parents being called up to the school, right? And the parents are kind of like, hey, what's going on? And like, your son has gone too far this time. And so you have the principal take the parents outside to show what Hank has been doing. This man broke apart the entire engine of the school bus. And I guess the janitor is very upset by it. Like, dude, put everything back where it goes. But for Hank, while doing this, it's him discovering how everything works. And so it's kind of like, yes, this is a boy of science. This is a boy who's going to love science for his entire life. But as we transition over to the present day, we see the principal being killed off in his nursing home because the entire time telling that story, he's telling that story over to who he believes is the main Marvel universe, Hank McCoy. But in reality, he's telling this story to the Dark Beast, the other Hank McCoy from the Age of Apocalypse reality. Now, as you have the principal die, this is kind of like the perfect time to re-explain like who Dark Beast is. So when it comes to Dark Beast, he's from the Age of Apocalypse timeline. Now, in that timeline, you have that timeline technically end at this point in time in Marvel Comics, but 4 characters were able to come over to this reality, the main Marvel universe, before the other one was completely wrecked. You had Dark Beast, Sugar Man, X-Man, and also Holocaust. Now, Dark Beast and Sugar Man, they arrived 20 years in the past. So for 20 years, they've been hiding behind the scenes, making their own types of moves. Now, when it came to Dark Beast, he never really thought about trying to find his main Marvel Universe counterpart. He just stayed behind the scenes until when he was trying to kill off Bishop, he saw his counterpart. And he was kind of like, I need to learn everything about my counterpart here in this reality. Now, as we transition over to our Hank McCoy, we see our Hank McCoy right now trying to hopefully discover the cure for the legacy virus, because in one of our earlier storylines, he feels like getting very close into actually cracking it. Now, here's the thing, because the legacy virus has been around for a very long time in our coverage, but just in case anybody is joining, the legacy virus is just a virus out there killing off mutants left and right. Now, it also has evolved and now attacking the human race as well, but there's only one human case at the moment, and that would be Mormon Taggart. But for Beast, our Hank McCoy, he has been trying his best to find a cure for the legacy virus for a very long period of time, to the point where you now have Charles Xavier getting very worried for Hank McCoy. And so you have Charles ask Bobby Drake, aka Iceman, like, hey, he's your best friend. Right now, what he needs is a best friend to kind of pull him out of the lab, because that man needs a break. That man needs to get outside and come back to reality. Now, as we switch back over to Dark Beast, it's Dark Beast kind of realizing that our Hank McCoy is getting very close in discovering something very important, of course, the legacy virus. But for Dark Beast, he feels like Hank's not ready just yet for what he has planned down the road. But also for Dark Beast, he still wants to learn more about Hank. And so how can you do that? Well, you go around, begin to ask different people who was close in Hank's life in the past, but also pretend to be like Hank, so that you're able to collect more information about him. And so for Dark Beast, he does that. He finds the what seems to be old girlfriend to Hank McCoy back in high school to kind of get a better idea of his character. But you also have Dark Beast go out of his way to kill her off by releasing some kind of deadly virus that affects every single person in that area. It is truly messed up, because at first when she arrived, she was so happy to see him. And then unfortunately, she died dies and a few other folks in that shop also dies as well. It's truly messed up. Now, as we transition back over to Hank McCoy and also Bobby Drake, it's Bobby trying to get Hank out of the lab. Like, at first, it's him helping out with the experiment that Hank has going on. But the problem is that the experiment does not go well. It almost hurt Bobby. Now, after the incident, it's Bobby trying to tell Hank, like, listen, the entire team understands what you're trying to do. We all agree that finding the cure for the legacy virus is really important. But at the same time, though, you still need a break. You still need to leave your lab to enjoy the outside world. And so you have Bobby just trying his best to get Beast out of the lab. And at first, he believes that Beast is going to leave the lab. He's like, you know what? You're right, Bobby. Let's go ahead and leave and let's play some Scrabble. The problem is that as soon as Bobby walks outside the lab door, you have Hank grab the door and lock it. So now Bobby cannot get back in, which honestly he can because he has ice powers. Just freeze the door and break it down and go right back in there. But hey, whatever. So now we see Dark Beast continuing to try to learn more about Hank McCoy of this reality. And so you have Dark Beast go pay a visit over to a priest of a church. Now, can I say this is truly messed up? Like, everything Dark Beast has done so far is truly messed up, but like once you have Dark Beast being able to learn a tad bit more about Hank McCoy, you have Dark Beast just blow up the church. I'm kind of like, dude, you don't have to kill every single person from Hank McCoy's past. Like, let some folks live, which honestly he will, but there is a special reason why the next two people get the chance to survive. And what we're seeing right now is that it's Dark Beast trying to alter his form, because for Dark Beast, he's gray. He has longer hair. He looks completely different from our Beast. And so what his goal is right now is to just change his form completely to look just like our Hank McCoy. And personally, we already know what he's trying to do. He's trying to replace our Hank McCoy when it comes to the X-Men for a very special reason. Now, you do have Dark Beast pay a visit over to the parents to our Hank McCoy. Now, here's the thing, because he's also kind of learning the origin to our Hank McCoy. And the thing is, our Hank McCoy's origin is a tad bit different from the other X-Men characters when it comes to their mutation. And let me explain. You see, when it came to our Hank McCoy's father, he was hit with a huge amount of radiation. Now, with this huge amount of radiation, it altered his genes. So years later, when it came to our Hank McCoy being born, well, he came out as a mutant. Now, Dark Beast is learning this origin, and Dark Beast does not kill off the parents to our Hank. And the reason why? Because these parents remind him of his own parents, and these people still have a part in his life, a part in his heart. And so you say, you know what? I'm going to let them live and just leave. Now, as he does leave, he does kill somebody else off in the nearby area. Now, as we transition back over to our Beast, you have our Beast still continuing to work on his, cure for the legacy virus. But then out of nowhere, you have Dark Beast being able to hack into the computers to our Beast. And when he does, he leaves a message behind for Beast to follow. And so this kind of leads into our Beast meeting Dark Beast for the first time. Now, when you do have our Beast meet Dark Beast for the first time, it's Dark Beast trying to tell our Beast that his goal is to replace him on the X-Men, to get close to the other X-Men people, but especially Bishop. And here's the reason why he wants to get close to Bishop: to kill him off. Let me explain. And so this kind of leads into the ending of this storyline, where we're now picking up with our Beast being confronted by Dark Beast at this abandoned building. Now, for Dark Beast, his main goal is to replace our Beast on the X-Men. And here's the reason why. You see, really, there's two reasons why. The first is going to be Bishop. And let me explain. You see, when it came to Legion Quest, as we all know, you had Legion kill off Charles Xavier. With the death of Charles Xavier, it had created a brand new timeline, better known as Age of Apocalypse. Now, most of the X-Men we all know and love, they all had disappeared. They were replaced with counterparts of themselves in this brand new timeline. But for Bishop, that was not the case. You see, for Bishop, he was able to live a life in that brand new timeline, 20 years in that brand new timeline. Now, when it came to Bishop and the X-Men, when they were able to bring back the old timeline, Bishop was still able to remember a few things from the Age of Apocalypse timeline. And so for Dark Beast, he hates the idea of Bishop knowing about that reality because it ties into the second reason. And that would be Mr. Sinister. And here's the reason why. Because in the Age of Apocalypse timeline, Mr. Sinister played a major role in that storyline in Age of Apocalypse. But in this reality, if our Mr. Sinister discovers that Bishop has these memories of an alternate timeline of things being done in that timeline done by his counterpart, then that Sinister, our Sinister, will then be able to kind of use Bishop to begin new kinds of experiments. And so for Dark Beast and Sugarman, they want to make sure that our Sinister does not discover Bishop knowing things from an alternate timeline. And so that's why his goal is to hide with the X-Men, kill off Bishop, but to also make sure that Sinister cannot get his hands on Bishop. But the story really does end on the note where you have Beast wake up. When he wakes up, he realizes that he's being walled in behind this brick wall. And basically, it's Dark Beast getting what he wants, being able to replace our Beast on the X-Men, begin his job of possibly killing off Bishop. But this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.